Donald Trump addressed whether or not he trusts the US intelligence community over Putin's word. And unsurprisingly, he was very clear that if Putin says that he didn't meddle in the election, then he's gonna go ahead and believe Putin. Let me give you his exact quotes. He was quoted as saying that, hey, he said he didn't meddle. I asked him again. You can only ask so many times. Every time he sees me, he says, I didn't do that. And I really believe that when he tells me that, he means it. So again, Trump there is talking about Putin. And he's like, well, I asked him if he meddled and he's saying no. So I'm gonna go ahead and believe him.
Okay, so a couple of things here. Number one, they then asked Putin's press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, did they discuss elections and meddling when Putin and Trump talked? And he said, no, they never discussed it. So that's interesting. Either the Russians are lying for some bizarre reason when Trump is trying to cover for them, or Trump just said that Putin denied it, even though they never even talked about it. Do you think that Trump actually went and asked Putin for the third time? He didn't ask. Okay,
yeah.
Anyway, that's a small part of it. You could say, no, the Russians are lying, they're always liars, except Trump says, no, what? Putin told me a couple of times, why would Putin lie? So to me, that's even more, but come on, you're a Trump supporter? If you are, you think Putin's always telling the truth? And that if you just ask a guy who's ordered the execution of journalists and political opponents, hey, are you telling the truth? And he says, yes, I am, that you should believe him. Come, I hope you're not even that stupid. Are you that stupid?
No, look, I want to reiterate that there needs to be more emphasis on Trump's financial dealings with the Russians, okay? Because all the emphasis on this special counsel and this investigation has to do with possible collusion, because that's what the DNC and the Democrats are obsessed with, right? They want to prove that there's collusion, to come up with excuses and not have to take ownership of the fact that they had a terrible candidate and they need to change their ways. What's more concerning to me is whether or not there are financial dealings here that lead to a gigantic conflict of interest, and whether or not that is influencing Trump's behavior in regard to Russia and Putin, right? Because it just seems so obvious to me. Homeboy won't release his tax returns. Release your tax returns. Why is he so afraid to release them?
And he attacks everyone except Putin.
Exactly.
When it comes to Putin, all of a sudden he's like, oh, all of a sudden he's a beta and a cuck. So say, oh, Putin said it, I believe him. Putin is such a good guy. Why would Putin lie? I asked him 2 times, I can't ask him anymore. Hey, what do you owe him, money? Oh, maybe.
Oh, there's more though, there's more. Let me give you some more of his quotes. Again, this is Trump talking about Putin. He says, I mean, give me a break. They are political hacks, referring to our intelligence communities, okay? So he's talking about Jim Clapper and John Brennan. So you look at it, I mean, you have Brennan, you have Clapper, and you have Comey. Comey is proven now to be a liar, and he is proven now to be a leaker. So you look at that and you have President Putin very strongly, vehemently says that he had nothing to do with them. Oh, okay, so Putin says that he had nothing to do with it, so let's just go ahead and believe him over our own intelligence organizations. Keep in mind, like, you hear accusations of unpatriotic behavior from the right wing in regard to those on the left over and over again. You don't support every war, you're unpatriotic. You don't do everything that the right wing wants, you're unpatriotic. You have the President of the United States basically talking crap about our own intelligence community and putting Vladimir Putin on a pedestal. It's insane.
So look, you can say, hey, didn't all those guys work for Obama, the ones that Trump named? Yes, but they also worked for Republicans. So throughout their entire careers, and I have criticized Clapper and Brennan to no end because they were part of the warrantless wiretapping. It started under Bush, it continued under Obama. They've messed with our rights over and over again. And we've been consistent on our criticism of what our intelligence community is doing wrong. James Comey is a right winger. James Comey was the #2 person at John Ashcroft's Justice Department under George W. Bush. He's a massive right winger. So now he has investigated Republicans and Democrats, which I think is fair to give him credit for. And he has stood up to Republicans and Democrats at different times in his career. And I think that there's some reason to give him credit for that. And if you said to me, hey, do you trust everything those 3 said? I'd say no way. it depends on what are we talking about, warrantless wiretapping or you know, et cetera, right? But if you said to me, do you believe those guys or the guy in Russia who has taken over the government, imprisoned all of his political opponents, murdered some of them, murdered any journalist who dared to expose what he's doing, stripped local democracy away from the Russian government, that's a no-brainer. And so yes, of course we care about the particulars of this particular case, but there is no evidence that would lead a reasonable human being to say, no, if Putin says that he is telling the truth, by definition, he must be telling the truth. Whereas our own intelligence guys are all liars on every issue, including this one. That's a preposterous statement. If a Democrat had gone around saying our intelligence agents are all liars, but I love the Russian leader, and since he told me that he's a good guy, I believe him, he would have been tarred and feathered and run out of town, called a communist, a traitor, et cetera, right? He's doing it right in front of our eyes. Again, I always, look, if you're not a Trump supporter, you get this is so super obvious to you. But I'm always amazed by the Trump supporters who think like, no, who needs freedom? Have I ever argued for freedom? No, I'm a Republican, I never argued for freedom. Putin being a guy who suppresses freedom in his own country is awesome. That's great. And did I ever say I was for critical thinking? I am not for critical thinking. I will bow my head to Putin and believe whatever he says. I mean, really? Are you really that pathetic?
Well, you know, if you want to talk about the issue of freedom, there is a troubling trend with Trump having this admiration for dictatorial individuals like Putin and Rodrigo Duterte from the Philippines, right? And we're going to get to that story later. But it worries me who he is more likely to be chummy with and who he's more likely to be insanely critical of.
If you like this video, you'll love the whole TYT network. Check it out at tytnetwork.com/join.